Morning, everybody. This is Stacy Turner with our DMOpro series. So glad that you're here joining us. I am in Fort Worth. We're at the bookstore. So if you stay on a little bit longer, I'll give you guys a tour of what this one looks like after we're finished recording, if you're curious of what we do here. So lots of fun. I love being able to just be flexible and go where we want to go. And this business has definitely given me the ability to do that. I don't know if given me the ability, but it's been choices along the way that we have built into that ability for both my husband and myself. So today I was thinking about, as we're going into this new year, a couple of years ago, I just recognized I had a thought that was rolling through my head, and it was kind of an underlying thought there all the time. And what I meant, like, if I'm thinking about my business, there was just kind of one thing that kept coming back into my head. And I had been asked this question, and, going into the new year, it's always a great time to reflect. And there's some really good questions out there online, like just look up like end of the year reflection questions, that type of thing. And it was like until I addressed this one thought, once I figured it out, once I found what that was, and it wasn't until I processed it that I could actually move on. But I didn't realize how much it was holding me back. So I'll just kind of tell you guys what that was, and then I want us to be thinking about that as well. So I'm going to walk you through a process of sort of like how I processed it and moved on from it. But it was a couple of years ago, and there was a shift in our business where, you guys probably remember, like there were a lot of people that got promoted to sales coordinator just on customer count alone. So they didn't have team member underneath them. And that really affected some of our POB legs because people were promoted. Yes, they had a good customer count, but they didn't have team members underneath them. And when that happened, it took out two of my POB legs. And so I was no longer eligible for the benefits with Juice Plus Company. And that was always something that was like really strongly, I had worked hard to be able to get insurance for our family because my husband is self-employed. And so we have multiple businesses, but to buy private insurance is super pricey. And the insurance through Juice Plus was great. And so it was something I had worked really hard towards. And then to lose that, it was just one thing, but yet it really affected me. And it was affecting my thought process more than what I realized. So once I figured out that that's what it was, I had to think like, why was that affecting me so much? And I really had to process it and get through that. So I was thinking about that process this morning, of just like, hey, what are we going to talk about today? And I thought that's a great question for us to think about. What thoughts are rolling through our head, but is there one that's just stuck there, or it's something that you're often thinking about? If it's positive, awesome, right? Like if you are in a place of like deep gratitude and you just keep thinking, oh my goodness, like God's goodness is so good, or I am just loving this stage of my life, or I'm so grateful for this new team member, or whatever that is. Like if that is, it's a positive thing, then you want to feed that. Right? You want to feed that. You want to share it. You want to verbalize it. You want to tell somebody else. You want that to be a joy that spreads to other people. And just the same, if it's a negative, we don't want to feed that. We don't want to share that. We don't want that to spread to other people. But then how do we process it? And going through the trauma resolution coaching program that I've done, I recognize a lot of trauma is just unprocessed emotion. So maybe something happens in an overwhelming situation and you don't have somebody to help you process it, or you don't have the maturity to process it, like maybe it was when you were younger, or you're just unsure of what to do with it. So that emotion gets stuck in the right side of your brain where you don't have language or time, you just have the emotion. And the trauma resolution work that I do is helping to move it forward where you are processing it, you are giving it language and the maturity that you have, and moving it to the left side of your brain where you're able to release it. And so I was just thinking, how can we keep that from getting stuck? We don't want things to get stuck. And I was stuck in that thought process. And overall, like when I really boiled it down, it was the thought like, kind of, I'm not enough. Maybe that was it. Like I was embarrassed that I had lost the insurance. And even using those words, I lost the insurance. Like, I don't know. I went to town. I was carrying around the insurance. I set it on a shelf. I lost it. I'm not sure what happened. Like opened the gate and the insurance just ran out and I lost it. Like it was not necessarily something I had done specifically, but it was just kind of a negative thing that just kept rolling in my head. I was disappointed. I was disappointed in the way the structure had been set. Like that wasn't of any of my doing. I was disappointed. I didn't have another sales coordinator that I could move up into that spot. I was disappointed that I had lost that for my family. And it wasn't until I processed it that I just was being held back by that. And so I wanted you guys to think about, you're going to ask yourself this question. When it comes to your business, what thought keeps coming up? What seems to be circulating in your head, or what do you think about the most? So what's coming up right now? It could be, let's just use the example of, I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand the websites. I'm frustrated. I'm super frustrated. That's the emotion I'm feeling. I'm frustrated that I can't get the information I need. We'll just use that one, and then I'll ask you guys maybe some of them, and I'll help you process them. But we're going to use the acronym APPEAR to walk through this. Okay, so APPEAR, and I don't know who decided APPEAR needed two P's. Like you don't say APPEAR, but we had to come up with two because. Well, I had to come up with something for the second P, but really it's the same thing because it should only have one P. I had this all typed out and I was like, Jarrett, how do you spell appear? And he's like, APPE. I was like, why? Why are there two P's? I don't need two P's. I just need one. But the first one is we're going to acknowledge it. That's the first A. So I acknowledge, I admit, I recognize, I feel frustrated. Okay, let's just use that word. So that's the emotion. Acknowledge what the emotion is. And you may have to kind of think through, what is that emotion? I feel embarrassed. I feel disappointed. I feel I'm afraid. Whatever that emotion is, you're just going to acknowledge that you feel it. And part of that is giving yourself permission to feel that. You're not trying to talk yourself out of it. You're not trying to justify it. You're not trying to say, but it's okay. It's okay. It's all going to be fine. It's okay. And for some of you, that might be where you're at. If somebody else has a negative emotion and they start talking to you, you instantly are, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's good. It's fine. And you're like, I can't handle your emotions, much less mine. So you need to be okay. So maybe you had a parent that was that way, where you had spoken some sort of emotion as a child, but you were sort of dismissed and it was never processed, or you never really learned how to process that. But acknowledging I feel this way is really an important first step. So I feel frustrated. And then the first and second P is going to be to process it. So what's influencing how I feel? So let's say using our current state with the websites, the websites are new and I feel frustrated every time I get on there. I can't understand it. The new marketing plan or the compensation plan, we don't have support on our team to where we're getting information that clearly shows us how to do it. The information on the site isn't fed to me exactly like it was before. I can't see exactly you have 3 new customers or you have 10 customers shipping in the next 10 days. So I have to find the information, and it frustrates me if I have to find the information. So you're just processing it. You're giving it words and language, and you're not trying to justify or dismiss that emotion, but you're just processing it. Sometimes it's helpful to speak that out loud to somebody, but that person has to have the maturity that they don't then internalize your emotion as their emotion. So it's difficult to find somebody that's able to do that. And that's a sign of maturity, that somebody else can process their emotion around you, that you don't internalize it and take it on as your own. So I don't, if somebody's talking to me about something that they feel really strongly about, I can empathize with them, but it doesn't have to make me feel bad or ashamed or internalize that somehow that's my fault, right? So even in close relationships, that's really important. So processing it out loud, it could be with your upline sponsor. We're supposed to kind of fuss up or gripe up, not down. You want to make sure that whoever you're processing this with is, one, somebody that could actually help move the mark. Or two, that it's not going to negatively influence their mindset unfairly, right? So if we're negatively processing or processing something negative in our lives with a downline from our business, it's going to negatively influence them, because they're like, she's supposed to know more than I do. And if she's not okay, am I going to be okay? Like, she's the one that shows me. So it can be difficult in a business situation. Think about if you ever had a boss that came into your office. What if the boss started talking negative about the company that you guys are working for? It would start to create a fear in you. If he's not secure with this company, then is my job secure? And it can just really build an insecure, atmosphere where he was just frustrated with something that day. So, same thing with parenting. If you're talking about adult frustrations about, let's say, finances and money with your kids, who they have no way to process or help with finances, that can create within them a stress that's not fair to them. It's not necessarily theirs. So just be wise in who you process with. It may not even have to process it with someone, maybe just writing it out.
Are you there?
Hey, Alita, you're unmuted, love. I'll mute everyone again. Okay, so if you don't have somebody that's able to help you process it out loud, then just write it out. So write out those things, make a list, whatever it takes to sort of get it out of your head, and just helping to give it words and language and time. Okay, so that's how you really start to process that. And then I want us to evaluate it. That's the E. So is this accurate or true? Am I saying always or never? Every time I get on the computer, I'm always frustrated. I can never figure it out. When you're saying always, never words, that's usually it's something bigger in your head than it truly is in life. Okay, it's been magnified. So look for truth versus the emotion. So we've processed it, we've given it that emotion words. Now we're evaluating, is this true? So another question would be, have I always felt this frustrated? The truth is, I've not always felt this frustrated. There have been other times where I have been able to find the information that I wanted. There's other times where I've been on websites with our company that do not frustrate me. So I've not always been frustrated with this website. I'm just frustrated in this moment. So if it's not a always, then there is light at the end of the tunnel, that there is going to be change with this. We've already seen some changes, like just that their name is on the order, not just an order number. You're like, okay, I can see who that name is. Like, that makes a difference. So there's, things that are going to get better over time. So it's not always going to be like this. So that's the truth. That's something I can hold on to that's towards the positive. Okay. So that's the evaluating side of it. Next, A is address it. So what can I do? That's your thought process. What can I do? So what can I do to release this frustration? What can I do to get through it? Let's say in this case, we're talking about the frustration of the website. What can I do? I can get in there and spend some time, not because I need to find a piece of information, but just because I want to get more familiar with it. So I could block off an hour of time to just get in there and be curious. I can look around. I can take notes on where I find information. I can say, oh, look, I need a customer's email. This is where I go to. I just found that just by clicking around different options in those menus, using the search functions and just getting familiar with it. That's going to ease my frustration because I'm not getting on when I need to find something and I can't find it right there because it's not just fed to me, and that's going to add the frustration. But if I take the time to go in when I'm not needing the information, but I'm just curious, my mindset going in is going to be very different, right? What else can I do? That's another question. What else can I do? I can get on the Friday morning Zoom with Wendy McGlon and take notes as she's walking through that so that I can go back and then apply what she's taught me. I can go back to old reports and see if I can pull up information that I'm needing right now. Maybe it's something I can only do so much. Like there for a while, the calls that I was making into Juice Plus, I was dealing with 4 or 5 issues. I was so frustrated by the end of the call. A lot of days, that was all I could do. That was work. I did it. And I had to go do something else because I would stay in a place of frustration too long. So it may be that you kind of need to move on to something else and then come back and revisit it. Frustration in business, often if I'm frustrated, it's really because I'm not doing the activity that I know moves the mark. So plan an event, and an event will get me excited like nothing else. Like I will start inviting to it. I will start, thinking about who's going to be the speaker, and that gets me into action and movement, which is going to get me out of frustration and doubt and that negative place that's there. So the addressing it is, what can I do? And then the last one is the R. You're going to replace that frustration. So replace it with action, like we kind of talked about, with the truth. You've got to come up with some statement that when the thought comes in your head, you're going to replace it with truth. Because if you keep letting the thought swirl, even though we're processing it, once you recognize, oh, there's that thought again, replace it with the truth. So I'm a smart person and I will figure this website out. Or there is hope for the future and this website is going to get better and better. I can navigate new things, whatever that is that brings it to a positive. You're going to replace the negative thought, the worry, the frustration with a truthful thought that brings you to a positive place and helps you move forward. It's not always going to be like this. Even that word, like last week I said, I refuse to be at war with Juice Plus. Like that was enough to bring me out of snap me out of the frustration, and that I could move forward with something else. So this can be in business, but it could also be different aspects of your life. So let's say your house is just a mess. Like I'm overwhelmed. Let's just say overwhelmed is the emotion, or your thought keeps coming along. I'm overwhelmed all the time. So what's the acknowledge it? I'm feeling overwhelmed. Process it. What's influencing this emotion? I have way too many things. There's clutter in my house. The closets are not organized. My pantry is a mess. My car needs to be cleaned. There's laundry everywhere. There's projects undone. All of that makes me feel very overwhelmed. So processing, what is it? And then evaluate it. What needs to be done? You could make a list of the things that aren't getting done, and then how can you address it? You could get rid of half of your clothes. You could decide one closet a week that gets cleaned out. You can hire somebody to come clean your house. It's a beautiful thing. I pay her one time a month and she does all of the things I'm never going to do. I'm not going to get baseboards. I'm not cleaning the fans. I'm not wiping the leaves of the plants. She's doing the deeper stuff that it does frustrate me that those things aren't done, in that it's kind of in the back of my head all the time. I need to get it. Now I see the dust on the baseboards, but I'm like, Destiny's coming. She'll get that. I don't have to think about it and I'm able to move on. Is there something you can delegate to somebody else? Are your kids' laundry, you're just overwhelmed with it? Are they old enough that you can teach them how to do their own laundry? It's pretty early on, you can teach them that. It's not super difficult as long as they can reach in and get out, like age 10, 12, like somewhere around in there. It's a great time to teach them to do their own laundry. Can you pay somebody to detail your car? Can you ask your spouse to clean your car for you? Can you, do you have a friend that loves to organize things that you could say, can you help me with this? And would you help me organize my pantry? So just how can you address it? What needs to be done will get you out of the emotion of it, because you know that there's a plan, and then replace it with, I won't always feel this overwhelmed. I'm in the process of organizing my life, whatever it is, some statement that you can say that helps you just keep in a positive place. So I would love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on this? Have you ever had somebody help you process emotions? What's stuck in your head? Do you want help, processing it out loud? Just what thoughts do you guys have on this? Have you ever been in a place like that?
Stacey, I always wait, hoping somebody else will jump in. But, looking at the screen too, I think a lot of us have been with the company a long time. So it's easy for me to go, God, I'm not the leader I should be. I don't have any team that's doing anything, or, that type of thing. So this was really good. I really appreciated you doing this. And and I'm sure you will, but will you post it in the chat so we can make sure we got the right wording?
Yes, for sure.
Thank you. This is really good.
Good. Anyone else?
Sorry, I had to get on shoes so I could go outside and keep coverage. This was great. Bob highlighted something a little bit similar, but this was much more detailed. And for me, I really need to sit down with it because, yeah, I'm frustrated that I feel like I do the work, but I get stuck someplace and I don't know where. And that's like so frustrating because I keep going, what am I missing? Why can't I get them to buy? Why do they get right there and say, yeah, that sounds really good, and then they don't buy? So for me, that's a real big frustration point. And it's great to have your funnel filled, but it's really frustrating when you just can't get over the hump. So I'm not sure where to go with it yet, but it definitely needs to be processed instead of stuffed. And I'm a really good stuffer, so.
Yeah, typically we are all very good stuffers. So the wording you might use is, I'm not getting results. So if you're thinking, if that's the thought, like, I can't get results, I'm not getting the results that I want. Sometimes if we're really evaluating, we can think back and we can remember something that happened, something somebody said that kind of gets stuck in there too and reinforces or started this negative thought. So that's a hard thing at times to like look back at the past and kind of revisit that. But there may be something that was spoken over you that you internalize, I can't get results, or I'm not going to get the results that I want. Or even somebody that meant something to you that said, this type of business doesn't work. You're just going to be wasting your time. I think we've all had somebody in our lives that have kind of told us that at some point. But if that really gets stuck there, then your subconscious brain is always looking for reinforcement to that's the truth. And so if that emotion is stuck and unprocessed, then that's the lens, the glasses you see things on are the evidence and the proof of that. So one of the ways that I would encourage you, Lisa, is in the back of our planner, we have a list of the people that we want to help. And when somebody orders, I put the date of their order next to their name. So on the other last column of that paper, I put the date that they ordered. And sometimes I just have to go back to those pages and look at them. And there's a lot of people's names on the list, but after a year, you see how many people did say yes over time. And there's more people that don't say yes that are on that list. But those that say yes and they order to have that date by them, it reinforces like people do say yes to this. I do have customers. And in the past, when we had like paper order forms, and I still use them, I would keep those because it was like that pile kept growing. And I was like, people do say yes to this, even if they don't stay on it forever. But you're going to find evidence for what you believe, and you're going to look for that evidence whether you realize it or not. So unprocessed emotion will find evidence for truth. Processed emotion will also find evidence for truth, because the truth is not nobody wants to order, or everyone else always gets the people that they talk to order. That's not true, right? So I hope that kind of helps you with that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Stacy,
Yes.
I have to tell you, this was great because going through all of this transformation, I know for everybody, it's been so difficult, but this is exactly what I needed. And then you were talking about, you flipped it to our own personal, like the house. Oh my gosh, but how to process things and to just go through this list, it is so easy. So what a gift you gave all of us today. It was really uplifting. And I think it just starts with our mindset. I was so frustrated with the company for a while, just thinking, why? And why use something that isn't really broken? I mean, change something. But now I know it's good. This is going to be, I'm now turning it over to I'm grateful that they're training us. I'm grateful that they're giving us all the information. And I think down the line, it will be better. I know it will be better, and I have to keep that mindset. But I think you've done an excellent job just the APEAR. I'm going to use this with my team because so many of them have called and they're so frustrated. And yes, we have truth to back this up now. We know it's going to be okay. I think a lot of them were afraid that it was going to go to the affiliate program, and we know they're not. So I don't know, but this call is awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. One thing I will say too is, it's really the emotion that needs to be processed when you start to talk about it, and now you're in tears. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm like, I don't get angry, I get sad, or I get tearful and choked up, and then I get angry. Like, it's part of it. But like when I get choked up and start to cry, like, that's an emotion that needs to be processed. And I'm here for you guys. If that's something, I mean, sometimes, guys, these are way bigger than just the frustration of our business. It's pinging and triggering emotions that have been there for a long time that have never been processed. And it feels bigger now sometimes because it is pinging off of those stuck earlier trauma points of just overwhelmed that was never worked through. So like, this is something that I offer to you guys if you want help with something like that, or if you're just not able to identify what it is. I'd love to work for you or work with you. And it takes us about an hour and a half to go through that process. And I can get you guys that link. Just send me a personal message if that's something that you want some help processing that, and I'll kind of walk through that. But does anyone else want to share anything else?
Yeah, Stacy, hi, it's Christine. I just wanted to say thank you very much for this. Well, it's really something I can use. And I know that fifth one for me, replacing the negative with the thoughtful or the truthful thought is my most difficult one. And I had a mentor of mine, a tennis coach, tell me that one negative thought, you need, like, I don't know if this is true, but this is what he would tell me. One negative thought needs 10 positive thoughts to replace it. So that is like, oh my gosh. So that fifth one is the one I know where my catch is. I go through the other parts, but I get caught there. So that's where I really have to pay attention. So thank you very much for going through this again. It's great.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Anyone else?
And for me, Stacy, just one sentence, you're going to find evidence for what you believe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome, Lisa. They say you can, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. You guys have heard that before.
Yes.
It's somebody else said it all starts in our mindset. It really is. We're going to get through this, guys. That's the truth. That's what we're replacing it. We're going to get through this. All right. Well, we probably will not connect again until next year. So let me stop the recording. It's been a great year for all of us, and I just appreciate you guys being a part of this group for sure.